Thank you all for joining us tonight. Tonight we're doing the Share Your Story with Alicia McLain. But for those who haven't attended before, the Share Your Story series is a quarterly meetup that we organize to profile Black Agilists and thought leaders. And the goal is really to tell the stories that we don't normally get to hear and understand each person's Agile journey from a Black Agilist perspective. And we hope that for you hearing these stories and the larger Agile community will be able to identify with tonight, Alicia, and visualize your own possibilities. So I will not be doing the introductions for Alicia today. I have asked Brandon to do Alicia's introduction. So Brandon, I hand the floor over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicole. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, CP. It's always fun to be here. So this is a real thrill for me to be able to introduce Alicia. She's a friend of mine, which makes me hugely, hugely proud. You know, she is an Agile coach. She's a really, really good one. And she also is, she also has this deep focus on positive intelligence, which she introduced me to, and she coached me on it. It was really good. It was really awesome. So we got to do another session soon on that. And I think for me, knowing Alicia, she is a big thinker and she has a huge heart. And I've been the recipient of that and seen it in action with other people. And she is a really good business owner. She knows a whole lot about it. And I have learned a whole lot from her about it. And so you all are in for a real treat to listen to her today. So Alicia, over to you.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you calling me friend. I appreciate that. And I hope we get a chance to hang out and spend some time together in the coming years, even though we're in the middle of all this COVID stuff.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yes. Awesome.
Yeah.
And Alicia, we are so happy to have you here. I neglected to introduce myself. Hello, everyone. I know most people who are on this call today, but I'm Nicole Spence with Agile In Color. My partner in crime tonight is Matt Carlson, who will be monitoring the chat and queuing up your questions that you have for Alicia. So just wanted to get that little business out of the way. So how we're going to go about our little chat tonight is I have a couple questions set up for Alicia, but I also invite you all to ask Alicia questions as well. So whether you want to put them in the chat and Matt will queue them up, or if you want to raise hands, every so often I'll break to see if anybody in the audience wants to ask a specific question. So that's kind of how we're going to handle that. I'm just getting some of the business out of the way. So Alicia, let's start by, you know, knowing a little bit more about your roots. So tell us where you grew up as a kid.
So that takes us back, doesn't it? So, so my upbringing is I think is, I don't want to say it's varied, but I was born in New Jersey, East Orange, New Jersey, but only lived there for 3 years. My mom, my dad, and I were all born in New Jersey. My brother was born in Japan, and my father was Air Force, so we spent 3 years in New Jersey and then headed off to Japan. And so I spent my early formative years in Japan. And so that was different.
Yeah.
And then my mother wasn't a huge fan of all the traveling that could come with military life. So she was like, we're not doing that. And so we came out of Japan and into Southern California. And we came into like the San Bernardino Riverside area and just stayed there for a couple of years. And then they moved over to where my mom still is now, which is between Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm. I always describe it that way because no one has ever heard of Stanton, California. It's like this little teeny, actually it's the last place in Orange County where you could probably afford to buy a house. Everything is so scandalously expensive there now. But it's the north part of Orange County, and it's not Los Angeles. Everybody says, oh, well, you know, Orange County is LA. No, it's not. And I can tell you that because I grew up there. Orange County actually has LA has Black people. Orange County did not, especially when I grew up there. So, yeah, so North Orange County. And so I started elementary school, junior high school, and then my first year of college was all in that area. And then, yeah, so that was really the upbringing. Was right between Disneyland and Knott's Berry Farm. What a cool place to grow up. Right?
Yeah. Were you at Disneyland a lot?
Actually, when I was in high school, I'm a band geek. So I was in marching band. I was in marching band for actually since junior high school, and then all the way up through high school. But then in my senior year, I decided I wanted to be one of the rifle people, you know, twirl the rifle and be all girly and stuff. I was the worst. I don't even know why my band director let me do that. But he's like, sure, go ahead. I should have stayed in my first chair clarinet position.
Oh, you're a clarinet.
Yeah, so because our high school was, I guess, contracted with Disneyland, we would go every Saturday and march down Main Street and be the entertainment.
Nice.
Well, part of the entertainment, the marching band. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you were basically a staple at Disneyland.
Yeah. For like a whole year. Actually 2 years. Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Cool. I was in band too in high school, but I played the flute because I was scared of the clarinet squeaking on me. I was like, if I play a wrong note, nobody will hear.
And they will on a clarinet. That reed will squeak in a heartbeat.
It will.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So are you still in that area or moved away from that area?
So so I went to Cal State Fullerton, which was my first year in college, and I decided it was like a commuter school, and I was like, I'm not really feeling the college experience here. Not that I was looking for like what was that show called? Living Single and you know, all those shows, the college shows. I was like, I kind of
different
want that.
world.
A different world, yeah. Not that I was going to get that in Southern California, but I thought, well, at least more than what was at Cal State Fullerton. You know, a commuter school where people come and then they go to class and then they leave.
Right.
So I transferred to San Diego State, and I just finished up school down in San Diego. And I said, hey, you know, if I have a hard time finding a job in San Diego, then I'll leave. And that was in '83, and I just left last year. So I didn't have a problem finding a job or running a business in San Diego. So yeah.
Yeah, that's not bad. I love San Diego.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So as we're getting out of that period of your life and more to current times, how did you get started in a tech career, and like what sparked your interest?
Yeah. So when I went to college, I'm not even sure how I came to this thought, but I do know that when it was time to decide what classes to take, my mom and dad were like, you do not go to the counselor, you come to our table. We're the counselors. Because if you go to the counselor, they're going to tell you that you're going to be an admin or, you know, whatever. They'll tell you, they won't guide you for your fullest potential. I'll just put it that way. Not that there's anything wrong with being an admin, there isn't. But you know, you come to this table, don't go there. So I decided I didn't want to do all the programming. So I did information systems. I wanted some programming and some business.
Right here.
Yeah. I mean, I wanted some of the programming, but I don't have the attention span, I don't think, for it. So
I totally get it. I'm right there with you. Totally.
Yeah. So, but I want to know it and I want to understand
Right.
it. So
Right.
in my curriculum, I wrote code and, you know, whatever. And so, and the first jobs that I had, I was database design, database support, database analysis, you know, on Unix platforms. So, I mean, I had to have some background to be able to do that work. And yeah, and I actually really liked it. I liked that curriculum. My minor was in Spanish. And so I took Spanish from like 8th grade all the way up through college. And I learned enough to learn how to shop and eat and travel. And that's about it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Which is, I mean, what else do I need to do? So yeah,
Right. Exactly.
yeah,
If it's good enough to travel, I'll be
yeah,
like, I'm all
yeah.
for it.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
So I know that you've spoken about your 1.0 to 3.0 evolution, career evolution. So what triggered that shift?
Yeah. 1.0, yeah. So if I think about the 1.0, 2.0, and 3.0 as it relates to Agile, my early days, 1.0, like between 2006 and probably 2000 and maybe 8 or 9. And this could be because of was kind of where the community was, but I felt like I was focused on frameworks. You know, 1.0 for me was focused on frameworks. You know, understand the framework, be able to, I'll just say this horribly, you know, I wouldn't say this today, but just install the framework, right? Plug it in, right? So that was my, I would say my early understanding. And I would also say that there were things that were evolving in the Agile community as well, because I think there's some knowing that we have now in the Agile community that we didn't have back in 2006. You know, I mean, I don't even remember what the date of Lisa Adkins' book was, but coaching Agile teams with the competencies needed to be an effective Scrum Master, that was not around in 2006, right? So there was an evolution in thinking, if you want to think about it in the Frederick Laloux sense, you know, an evolution in thinking, you know, how does he refer to that? It's not evolution in thinking, but complexity of thinking, complexity of mind. So I think there was those early days of still understanding the concepts of organizational change and Agile frameworks and that kind of thing. So that was, I'd say, it was more about doing Agile. When I think about 2.0, that got, for me, that was more into the orchestration of organizational change. And I'm doing this like I'm orchestrating, because that's what it felt like. You know, it was orchestrating organizational change. And I'm fascinated by organizational systems and how they move and how they change and how people move with and through them, through the systems and through organizations. So that really piqued my interest. And it was in 2015 where I took the class, actually coaching Agile teams. And I said, I've never seen that competency model before. You know, I've got some strength in these areas,
Right.
and that's, you know, I had strength in these areas, you know, training, facilitating, really strong in those areas, mentoring. And then I saw that professional coaching wedge and I was like, that is a giant black hole. There's like nothing in there. So that's when I made it my mission to really beef up that competency. And that's what's really brought me into 3.0 network is that laser focus into that professional coaching competency wedge. And so that's when, you know, I had always wanted to take ORSC, but I was being kind of cheap about it. You know, ORSC was so expensive. You know, there was the class and then you had to fly and you had to go to all the places. And I was like, really? Do we have to do all that? So as soon as it came to LA, I was like, okay, so that's closer. I don't have to get on so many planes and fly across the country and the world and blah, blah. You know, not that I'm opposed to that. I do love to travel, but I just couldn't get my head around that. Yeah. So that's how Brandon and I met. We met in the ORSC.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I think we had some interactions before that, but we really spent more time really getting to know one another more in that class. He was a what were you, back of the room facilitator, Brandon, I think?
Yeah, assisting.
Yeah, assistant, yeah. And so that's, and I just loved ORSC. I loved it so much and was so glad to be in that class. And it was a really interesting thing for me. I don't really cry in my classes. I cried a lot in that ORSC class. I don't know what it was about that content, but it brought up a lot for me. I'm not even really a crier, which is surprising. So yeah, there's a really emotional component to that ORSC work, deep emotional work, and for you to get it, and to be able to really, I'll just say, to really get it, you have to go there. So yeah, love it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt. Posting in the chat.
Yeah.
So what about professional coaching do you find most rewarding?
Being a witness. When you're professional coaching and you're holding space for someone to find their superpowers, to find their self compassion, to find their own answers, it is a gift to me to be a witness of that. I mean, I almost feel like it's like almost like an intruder, you know, I because it's so personal, you know, coaching
Right.
is so personal. And so it's just such a gift for me to be able to witness people stepping into their greatness and through their discoveries.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, yeah, when people, you know, they open up to you, it's like you're cracking the shell. And so I guess you build up a lot of trust there, right?
Yeah. You know, and in a way, it's almost like they're opening up. It's really like they're opening up to themselves. You know, that's what I'm witnessing. I'm witnessing people get to know themselves. I say about my coaching program, what year is this? So I took my coaching program. So y'all are probably going to do some math here, but I did my coaching program in 2017. And I said, getting through that program, I feel like I met myself. And I met myself at 52. It's like, what was I waiting for? But you know, and I don't know that there's no judgment about it, but until you go through something like that, it's definitely an opportunity for you to meet yourself. So my witnessing is witnessing people meet themselves. Yeah.
That's amazing. I just wanted to take a pause here to see if there's anybody who else has questions for Alicia, because I don't want to like dominate it here, or if you have anything you want to put in the chat, Nat, let me know if there are any questions that people want to add. And just doing a pulse check. Oh, I think Christina's got her hand up.
Yeah, I just had a
Go
quick
ahead.
question. So I've done the ORSC Foundation, so I completely understand when you talk about that personal aspect of it, but I'm kind of trying to reconcile, you know, kind of the title of coach. And I just wanted to know if you had any of those issues along the way, because as you said, like, it's very personal. And I find that ORSC is a very powerful tool. And I almost feel, for me personally, I don't know how I feel about getting paid to like help people on that journey. I'm not quite there yet. That's kind of where I don't know how you get there. If for me, I've always kind of valued just helping people. And if I can help people in my circle get to that revelation of who they are. So I'm slightly reluctant in terms of going down the coaching side, even though I know I want to, but I'm not quite, I don't know, I'm not quite ready yet of how to approach it.
Yeah. You know, that's a really interesting question. And I'll say that one of the things that I feel like I had to reconcile with is, you know, people, when you say you're an agile coach, about 95% of the people you tell that to have no clue what you're talking about. Right? So I feel like for myself, I had to find language that people could relate to and understand. And I think the other thing is that recognizing that the coaching part, at least for me, is a competency. You know, it doesn't have to be your whole thing. It's a competent, it's like a tool you bring to the tool, you know, it's a tool you have in your toolkit. And I feel like over the last, between ORSC and my coaching program and my positive intelligence, I went from like a little teeny little toolkit that had like a little screwdriver and a little hammer in it to like a diamond plate toolkit on the back of my truck, right? It's tools you bring to whatever the scenario is. And so I think maybe thinking about it in that terms, as opposed to it being a profession, you know, that might be something to explore. Yeah. That's a great question.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Christina. All right. I'm going to, if there aren't any other questions that anybody else has now, Matt, I'm gonna hop back in.
It looks like there's just a share that people can read on their own. There was no question, but there is a link if people want to check it out.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so good.
So, all right. So, Alicia, what would you say was one of the biggest challenges you've experienced on this journey?
You know, I think one of the biggest struggles I had was my own thinking, you know, getting in my own way about this. Whether it was, you know, applying for a job or, you know, leading organizational change, whatever it was. I think my biggest challenges have been just my own thinking about that. And so, you know, it's interesting because I grew up where I grew up. I don't feel like I'm out of place in the environments that I'm in because it was kind of like my high school, you know, it was kind of like my elementary school. If I'm the only Black person in the room, I don't walk in the room feeling my skin because it's always been like that, you know, it's always been like that. So I don't feel out of place, but I feel like, yeah, I feel like sometimes just, I think one thing that really got in the way for me was, you know, my certification process. I had some challenges there, and that got in. I had to work on my thinking with that. And I had to think about, you know, what was the value of that for me, so on and so forth, and that type of thing. Trying to think what else would be a challenge for me. You know, when you own your own business, I don't know if it's always a challenge finding work, but you know, you have to think about it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't just show up at your desk at your house and the work is just there. You know,
Right.
it doesn't work. It doesn't work like that. So,
Right.
so you know, so you have to think about it. So, and I don't. For me, that's kind of an adventure. In the early days of me running my business, it was not. It was a hand wringing. It was a hand wringing, armpit sweating exercise because I was committed to not work for anybody else again. And this was the third time around. I had my 1.0 of being an entrepreneur, 2.0 of being an entrepreneur. And this time around, I was like, okay, we're going to do this. And so, yeah, it was a little sweaty at first, but now I have a shifted perspective about that. It's more of an adventure. Yeah.
So how, excuse me, how do you maintain your focus in all the sweating?
How do I maintain focus? That's a really great question. So if you could see this sticky note on my keyboard. So one of also the great things about taking a coaching class is that you get a bunch of free coaching because that's part of the curriculum. There's this thing called mentor coaching and whatever, and if it's an ICF type of program. So you get all this free coaching while you're learning. So it's great. So one of my coach buddies, I was like griping about something, I don't remember what it was. I think I was teaching at UCSD. I was teaching an Agile class at UCSD, and I was whining about teaching the class. And I think I was having some dissonance with the amount of time I was spending, the compensation for it, and what I needed to do in my business. And so she just asked me this really simple question. I should have put the date on this, but she said, well, how should you be spending your time? And that hit me like a freight train. I'm like, yeah, how should I be spending my time? So I actually put it on a sticky note, put it on my laptop, right here on the keyboard, because whenever I start to, because I can find squirrels with the best of them, and be off and shiny objects. So I have to keep this on my keyboard so that I stay focused, because if I don't, then I don't get paid. So that I'm motivated by that.
Yeah, that's kind of important, I think.
Yeah. Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, focus is, I think even more so right now, people have a hard time keeping focus, much less keeping focused while running a business. So
yeah. And on that point, I just noticed this the other day. I was talking with a coachee. Many of the people that I'm coaching, I coach in a variety of different places, are suffering with this work from home thing. And they're suffering with this work from home thing because they're not exactly sure, still to this day, even though we've been at it for a minute, about how to organize themselves to stay focused at home. Because you focus at work, you don't have to focus at home. The refrigerator is here, the TV is here, the children are here, the spouse or the partner or the whoever is here, the dog is here, all the people, all the things are here. And so it occurred to me that that's a big part of, or at least for me, it was a big part of me being an entrepreneur, is learning how to focus and set boundaries around the work. Because that's the other thing I find. People's boundaries have been blown to bits in COVID. The people are coming to me as clients, and they're just broken down from they just work all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so you don't know how to turn it on and turn it off, and how to compartmentalize it in a way that is effective for you to have a boundary between work and home. And so I had to learn how to do that to be an entrepreneur. I have to learn how to close the door, close the laptop, and still be okay with myself.
Right.
There's that, right? The hyperachiever. Oh, well, I should be doing this. I should be doing that. No, it's not that. It's turn the laptop off. And, you're not going to go to the poorhouse in 24 hours. So you can close the laptop. You can stop sweating, close the laptop, and have dinner with your wife, right? That's what you can do.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Tracy.
I see Tracy has her. Yeah, Tracy, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Awesome, thanks. And I know this will give you a chance to catch your breath also. So, I'm sorry, I guess I'm going to turn my camera on. Can you see me? All right, that's your appropriate
There
thing
we
to
go.
answer. Ask a question, right? Turn your camera on. All right, so I know this is a little bit different when you own your own business, but let's say you have 3 organizations. They all are going to pay you well. But how do you determine which organizations are really serious? They're really valuing, they're not just doing it like, oh, we need help, so we're going to bring someone in. How do you determine, I know it's hard to determine that before you get there, but what are some little hints, little keys, little flags that say, okay, I think they're serious about this. I think they're really going to value what I'm offering.
Yeah, that's a great question. And my answer is probably going to be kind of foul, but so as far as I'm concerned, we're not doing anything until we have a contract. And I have clients that I've had as clients for 7 years now. And they know that I have a pencil in my hand on my calendar until we have a signed contract, and then we have pen. But we just don't, I cannot take time away from my calendar until we have a signed contract. And so I think it's about the contracting. It's about their commitment to, because the contracting is also about payment too, right? And so when you talk about payment, how does payment happen for you? Is payment upfront? Is payment a percentage and then something? Is payment, I like payment all up front, but it doesn't always have to be like that, you know. It doesn't always, actually I have, and you might be interested in this, I don't know. I did a little video series because I also realized that people struggle with entrepreneurialism. And there's some basics about payment, about money, about contracts, about this stuff. And I will put it in the chat, and it is not fancy, I can tell you that right now. It is just getting the word out, but there could be something there that could help you. And I would really look in the description of all those videos, because I put a lot of links and references to a lot of really great stuff. And it's called the Small Business Health Check. That's the name of it. Yeah. Yeah, but I have become more, how do I, I'm trying to figure out how I've become with contracting, but I'm very direct about it. I'll put it that way. I'm very direct about it. Yeah. Because why not be? You know, if I were.
As you should be, sure.
Everybody is direct about their contracting when they come with their bills.
Well, exactly.
That,
you know, and so I try to shift to that perspective, you know, and say, well, if this was something else, I wouldn't even think twice about, you know, whatever. So why would I think twice about this? But see, there's something under that, right? When you're struggling with contracting, when you're struggling with asking for money, when you're struggling with that we need to talk about the positive intelligence stuff. We got to get our mind right, because when we can get our mind right, then these things are not a problem. I actually had one of my coachees has a high pleaser. This is one of the patterns of thinking in positive intelligence, very high pleaser. And so one of her struggles was asking for what she deserved in her money, asking for the signing bonus, asking for, because the pleaser would be like, oh, no, you can't do that. That would be rude. That would be greedy. That would be whatever. No, that's a saboteur pattern of thinking. And we just need to turn the volume down on that one and go get that money. Because you deserve it, whatever it is. You just, you know, whatever it is. I mean, I don't know what you're asking for. I'm just saying that when those patterns of thinking start getting in the way, just know that it's a pattern of thinking, calm it down and go do what you need to do. Yeah. That's so I'll put the link to my my YouTube channel. I thought I had it in here. The link to my YouTube channel, and then I'll also put a link to the assessment for positive intelligence and mental fitness. You can meet your top 3 saboteurs, and then you can email me your top 3 when you get them, and we can have a chat about that.
That's incredible. Thank you, Walter.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, you're
Awesome.
welcome.
I see, Christina, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just following up on what Tracy said, and to clarify with, is it Alicia or Alicia?
Alicia. Yeah.
Okay, because Jamaicans say Alicia.
Yeah, and that's okay, because I grew up in Southern California, and I have practically lived in Baja my whole adult life, so it's okay.
Okay.
I hear both beautifully. Thank you.
Okay. So I just had a question, Alicia. So you said in terms of the contracting, so in the contracting conversation, does that mean that you also have contracting around, let's say, that kind of discovery phase of things, where you're exploring what the relationship would look like and kind of deciding if you're going to go forward with work?
That's a good question. So I see discovery in a couple different ways. So for instance, I just got a referral from a colleague to a client. And the first conversation that we talk about how, what's in the way for them, what keeps them up at night, you know, what problems they're trying to solve. That's a discovery conversation that we just have, and I offer that complimentary. And then when we talk about discovery in your organization, take what you've shared in this first conversation to the next step of, let's really understand what's happening in your organization. That's a phase that they pay for. If you go, I'll put my website in here, and if you look at, let's see. If you look at the enterprise, hold on, I can't type and think at the same time. So full disclosure, and I'll just share this with you. So my dog was very sick last night, all sick, all over the place. And we were at the vet at 6 o'clock this morning. So I am functioning on 1 hour of sleep. So
no.
I just want to tell you that. So that's why I'm a little slow on the draw here and a little,
Well, you've been amazing so
Yes.
far.
I
Really,
wouldn't
really
have, I
amazing.
wouldn't have
Thank
guessed at
you.
all.
I mean, I've been taking care of my dog, and that's just trying to sneak tablets into her sausages. So she's not been as sick as your dog.
Oh yeah,
It's literally been
so
like, it's been
sick.
like a factory, like put tablets in, make sure she eats it.
Like Lucy and the chocolates. Yeah, so if you look at Enterprise Agility, look at that page. There's phases there on how I work. So this is after the complimentary conversation and how we would proceed together. And it doesn't matter if they're an organization that's looking for Agile or not. This isn't any organization. I feel like there needs to be some sort of, how do we get to know you? And the way, and what I do in that phase one is a couple of things. Sometimes it's surveys. Sometimes it's interviews. Sometimes it's doing what I call an Agile team reboot, or just a team reboot. I'm a widely authorized partner, so I use the I use the everything DISC assessment. And that's a really powerful, great assessment. And the one that I use the most is called productive conflict. Everybody has conflict. I've never had anybody say, no, we don't need that one. That's awesome. You work in an organization with no conflict? Good for you. So I don't even have to say anything about that one. They're like, oh yeah, sure, we've got plenty of that. So I bring that assessment in so people can kind of get to know themselves around how they show up in conflict. Super important. It brings up a whole bunch of stuff. I like to hear the juice. I don't want to hear the let me defer to my boss kind of answer. I want to hear the messy stuff. Let's just get into the messy stuff. And then I do DTAs, designing a team alliance. That's all around phase one type of stuff. And all of this tells a story about what's going on in their organization. And they pay for that. And they pay for that because I'm doing it. It's my time. Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. That's
Yeah.
really helpful, because I had the convo with a company where they're like, oh, we're looking for somebody to do change. And then I did like one interview was okay. Then I did the second interview was a train wreck, because like the CPO told me absolutely everything that was wrong and that was going to happen. And then I got another interview supposedly we're like, oh, maybe we can work out what your role would look like. And I kind of felt it was more me defining what they should have in the org. And I just kind of went, yeah, no, run away, run.
Well, you bring up a really great point. So I used to do, when I was living in San Diego, I used to, and this is before COVID, I would go to recruiting firms and do a free 1 hour. Here's what Agile is and what it's not. Here's what the 3 roles of Scrum are that you're staffing for on the daily. Here's what they are and here's what they're not. Here's what kind of the street rate is for these, because you're grossly under pitching the salaries for these jobs. And it was just to kind of help them better understand these roles. And what I hear and what you said, Christina, is that the folks probably had a job description called whatever it was called, and they threw the kitchen sink at it, and they hoped to get whatever they got, and they hoped that the person coming in would tell them what they needed. And so I see this a lot because they just don't really understand the roles very well. And I don't have a judgment about it. I just want to help them get alignment so that the person who is getting the job is in alignment with what the person who is asking for the work feels like they want, because this is where things go off the rails. I thought I was hiring a whatever, and you're supposed to do the job of the product owner, the scrum master, or the team.
Yeah, I think that was the thing. I literally kind of said, I'd be happy to advise you, but there's absolutely no way I'm taking this job because you guys are not sure what you want.
Yeah. Bless their hearts. They're trying, I'll tell you.
Thanks, Christina. All right, we're coming on the tail end. So let me squeeze in a couple more questions for Alicia before we wrap. Um, so focusing on Black Agilists,
Yes.
what would you say are some of the barriers to entry in the Agile community for aspiring Black Agilists?
Yeah. You know, I actually, I appreciate this question, and I'm looking over here because I actually wrote something down here. So I think some of it is, I think some challenges can be, we don't know where to go to get the resources that we need. You know, Brandon has this great mentoring group. You have this great group here. I'm just not always sure that people understand where to go to get the resources. I think that's part of it. I think a big part of it is us getting our own mind right and realizing that we are capable of being in this space. And when we don't have our mind right about it, then we just continually have this, you know, these thought patterns that say, you know, what am I doing here? Should I, you know, imposter syndrome, right? It's that. Yeah, I did a talk for the Scrum Alliance on that one. But it was for the role of the product owner. It applies to everything where you find imposter syndrome. I'll put a link to that in the chat too. But yeah, we can get in our own way with imposter syndrome. Let's see. Yeah, I think the other thing is building community. You know, how do we build community for ourselves so that we do have the resources that we need? You know, if we don't have this community to go to, then we don't have this feeling of, I'll just say, safety in this space. Yeah,
I agree 100%. And I know Brandon does too, because we talked about this before.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Yeah. And so here it is. We're creating community for you all.
Yeah.
Thank you for being part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I let's make sure that that's somebody I know coming in my door here, because I'm yeah, I'll put this you know, on the note of community, I wanted to mention a couple of resources for people. What I'm putting now is the talk, the imposter syndrome. I may not spell that right. Talk in the chat. I wanted to mention the Agile Coaching Exchange. The Agile Coaching Exchange it was my attempt to build community back in 2015 when I was like, I'm going to go into business for myself and I'm going to be an Agile coach. All right, now who do I go to ask about who should I charge? How much should I charge people for this or whatever? You know, I had all these questions and it's like crickets. There was no community to have these conversations. And so, and I think it's important for us to have community in both places, right? So community in the broader Agile community and community with people that look like us, so that we can feel like we can have, like Brandon's mentoring group. So we can feel like we can just have those honest conversations about things that we're struggling with and things that we need help with. But yeah, I think super important to build community. So I was gonna mention the Agile Coaching Exchange. I already gave you my YouTube channel. I'd also mention Agile Amped. Agile Amped is put on by Alicia Lundy, and she works for Accenture, I believe it is. And she is the host of Agile Amped for Accenture. It's a podcast, African-American woman. She is a person to know. Yes. The Scrum Master Toolbox is a great resource. That's a global resource if you're in the role of Scrum Master and you need some tips there. The Agile Online Summit, that's another great resource. Brandon and I were both chairpersons for that this last year. And so this last thing I'm going to put in is the, yeah, thank you for putting that in, Matt. I appreciate you staying with me here as I'm just blathering away. Let me, I want to put the TED Talk and the TED Talk and the link to take the assessment for positive intelligence. And I invite you to get to know your saboteurs, your saboteur patterns of thinking. And I also invite you to send me your top 3, and I will do a complimentary debrief for you on your top 3. It is
Awesome.
my mission to get this information out in front of BIPOC communities, women's organizations. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
for sharing. This is amazing. I'm definitely going to do it myself. All right, as we wrap,
Yes.
the last thing I will put out here is there, although you have shared lots with us, which I appreciate, is there anything that we did not cover that you want everyone to know about you or your experiences?
Yeah, I think so this is a personal thing, and we were talking about it before everybody came on, but one of the things that I discovered in this positive intelligence work, as I look at my essence, is I'm an adventurer, I'm an explorer. So my wife and I sold our house a year ago. We live in our RV, we travel around the country, 5 states, 18 campgrounds, and we got more to go. And we have a YouTube channel. And so we'd love for you to follow us. We'd love for you to follow our channel. We've got Instagram too, Mile High Beach. You can find us on Instagram. But yeah, we are always looking for our community and our tribe. And anybody that's interested in knowing more about, RVing or because we knew nothing about it before we started. So we are certainly not experts, but we're happy to share. And that's it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
Look at my channel up here.
Sounds like an adventure.
It is.
Once again, thank you so much, Alicia, for sharing so much with us tonight. I mean, I've learned a lot in a short amount of time. And I really, on behalf of our Agile in Color community, appreciate you sharing not just your story, but giving us free nuggets of wisdom along the way.
Yeah.
And definitely beefing up our community and the resources that we have access to. So again,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for that.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate
It's my honor to be of service.
Appreciate you. All right, one thing before everybody runs off on the East Coast to eat dinner or whatever, I want to just share with you quickly what we have coming up next. So Agile in Color's first book club meeting will be on Wednesday, February 16th from 6 to 7 p.m. There are only 4 spots left if you want to join. Say participation is limited, and it will be hosted by one of our Agile Color core team members, Keisha Wright. So if you are interested in book clubbing about crucial conversations, that's the book we'll be talking about, please sign up on Meetup and join the party. All right, that's the last of my promo. And with that, I will bid you all a good afternoon, evening, wherever you may be. Thank you for joining us. And until next time, good night.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you again, Alicia.
Bye,
Thanks,
everyone.
Alicia.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Alicia.
Brandon. Thanks, everybody, for being here.